Welcome to Bryer's Music Showcase. I'm Bryer and welcome to another video. And in this one, I'm continuing my 80s series, and now we're up to 1984. Another very good year in music, I think. So it was a lot tougher choosing my top 5, but I think I'm pretty happy of what I got. And I should say this in every video, if there's an album that you love didn't get mentioned, there's really 3 things that could be the reason. 1, I'm only restricted to what I have in my CD collection. If I don't own it, it's not going to be mentioned. Also, if I have not heard it before, and last but not least, if I didn't like it. But again, there's a lot of good albums from 1984, so again, there's a lot to choose from. So I'm just going to start with my number 5, and we'll go all the way down to my number 1, plus some honorable mentions. So without further ado, let's get started. So for my number 5, this might be a very weird choice, but I genuinely really love this album. And it's kind of funny because this is actually the 3rd time I've talked about this album in the span of a week. But again, I really love this one. And what's interesting about this one is that it comes not from the US, it doesn't come from the UK, it actually comes from Japan. So the artist is called Maria Takeuchi, and this is her album, Variety. So I've talked about this story before, but for those who don't know, one day I was just looking up some bass tabs because I play bass, and at random I just clicked on this random bass tab because I saw the title of the song. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let's give it a listen. And the song was called Plastic Love, and it's on this album. And I heard it for the first time. I was like, wow, this is actually really good. And I had to find out what the album was, so luckily it was on Amazon for a pretty decent price coming from Japan. And I put on the album for the first time, and I was like, wow. I was just blown away by it. Like, it was just so good. Musically, it sounds fantastic, and I love the sound of her vocals. Again, it's Japanese vocals mainly, but I don't mind Japanese vocals. I actually think there's kind of an elegance to it, and that's kind of why I'm drawn to it. And even though I don't know what she's saying most of the time, I don't really care, honestly, because I think it just sounds great. So here's the back of it. You have a nice little dog on the back, and there's her again on the front. So yeah, just musically it sounds great. Just some saxophone, some great bass work, and I already said saxophone, but horns. There's some keyboards around, a little bit of a guitar, and yeah, it just all comes together. It just sounds fantastic. So I do know a bit of history on this album. So this is her 4th album, if I'm not mistaken, and she released 3 albums prior, and those were kind of more like corporate stuff because she didn't write anything. She was just providing the voice, the vocals, kind of similar to like Whitney Houston in that sense. And she did that for 3 albums, and eventually she was kind of getting tired. She decided to take a break. She kind of went out, she got married, and her husband turned out to be a musician in his own right. And after about a year or 2 or so, just doing whatever, she actually started writing her own songs. And she wrote the lyrics, and her husband, again, like I said, is kind of an instrumentalist himself, helped write the music, and they came out with this. So in a sense, this was kind of her comeback album. And I know it was pretty big in Japan. I know Plastic Love kind of had a small resurgence if you were paying attention. Some people took the song and kind of remixed it, and so it kind of got more attention on the internet. I was not aware of it during that time, but I kind of wish I was. But yeah, absolutely spectacular. Like, every song on this album is just great. There's 11 tracks, and there's actually 2 songs on here which she actually sings in English, which most people would be like, oh, it's gonna sound weird because she's probably gonna have a thick accent. It's gonna sound corny, kind of cringy. But no, like, I listen to her English sounding voice, and you still hear her accent, but it's not distracting at all. I think it sounds just as good as her Japanese vocals. Like, I was just in awe like the whole time just listening to this one. So yeah, let's quickly go inside and let's see what's included in here. So here's the disc itself. Again, a lot of Japanese. So again, sorry if you can't read it. Unless you speak Japanese or read Japanese, then that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Comment below if you can do that. That'd be awesome. So here's the booklet. Again, a lot of it's just Japanese, so not much I can add to this. I'm assuming this is supposed to be like a background or some background information. So it does include some photos of her, and of course the lyrics. Again, so a lot of these are in Japanese, but like I said, there's 2 songs where there's English, so you have a couple English translations here. Here's some more photos of her. Keep on going. Let's try to go through this quickly, because we do have to talk about 4 more albums after this. There we go. There's the dog again. So again, I know some of you will probably think I'm crazy putting this one in my top 5, but yeah, I love it. I don't care. So Variety by Maria Takeyoshi is my number 5 for my favorite albums of 1984. For my number 4, this is from a very well-respected musician and singer, and of course this acts as both a studio album and a soundtrack album. So we have Prince with Purple Rain. So yeah, Prince, what can you say about him? Just a very good musician and singer. I know some people aren't quite into his persona, if we want to call it that, but I don't mind it. I think he's pretty unique, and it helps him stand out. People like to compare him to Michael Jackson, but I don't think he's close to Michael Jackson. He does his own thing. Just a great, like I said, he plays multiple instruments. He can play guitar, he can play bass, he can do drums, he can do anything, really. And of course, this is the soundtrack to the film Purple Rain. And the film itself is it's fine. I saw it and it was like, okay, it's nothing groundbreaking, but the music is what really shines. That's pretty much the best part of the movie, is the music. So yeah, you have 9 songs on here. It's just a great mixture of pop, R&B, soul. Just all this comes together, and again, you have this great sound, and of course some great guitar work as well. So you have Let's Go Crazy, Take Me With You, The Beautiful Ones, Computer Blue, Darling Nikki, When Doves Cried, another big hit. I Would Die For You is another great song. I think that's a very underrated song, honestly. Baby I'm a Star, another good upbeat number. And then it finishes out with the title track, which is a classic. It's a great emotional song. And I love the imagery of it, like the purple rain. Just a great image right there. But yeah, and of course you have Prince in the purple suit, which I actually own a t-shirt of. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. So yeah, I think I bought this from a Rite Aid, honestly. It was just there, and I was like, let's give it a shot, because because again, before I heard a lot about Prince, and I heard a lot about him, especially after his death. But I said, might as well give him a shot. Just went completely blind, and yeah, I totally can see why people really enjoy him. I haven't heard everything from Prince, but hopefully I'll change that in the years to come. But this is probably so far my favorite album I've heard. I don't think there's going to be anything that will top this album, honestly. So let's look at what's on the inside. So again, it's pretty standard. Got a simple CD. There's the booklet here we'll take out. It's not a whole lot to the booklet. You open it up, you have the track listing, and then you have a little face on the side. That's not creepy. And I kind of like how every song has a different font. Kind of makes them stand out. And what's in here? You got the credits, and then you got the lyrics. Not really much to say on the inside. It's just basically white. No pictures or anything. And there's the whole artwork. Kind of continues into the front there. So there you go. I didn't have a whole lot to say about this album, but yeah, it's number 4 for me. So yeah, Purple Rain by Prince. Okay, so for my number 3, of course, I gotta talk about some more metal, and this is actually my favorite album from this band. So we have Ride the Lightning by Metallica. So yeah, this is my favorite Metallica album. Master of Puppets comes close, but we'll talk about that at a later date. But yeah, Ride the Lightning, and also pretty cool album cover. Excuse me there. And yeah, there's the back for you. So again, kind of continuing on from the debut. So this is definitely a lot more polished. They're starting to become a bit more adventurous here because they're now, well, the first album was definitely more of that hardcore thrash and speed. This one actually incorporates a lot more depth to it. Like the intro, first Fight Fire with Fire, has a more slower build, and then it gets right into the main song. Just a great opening track. The title track is awesome. For Whom the Bell Tolls is also very cool. I've talked about that song before. Just I love the intro. That you hear the bell, and then it goes to the main riff, and then you hear the bass. Cliff Burton, just a very unique player. Just the distortion he puts on the bass really gives it a very much like guitar sound. Then you have Fade to Black, just a great, kind of their own little power ballad, if we want to call it that, but definitely a lot different from what they've done before. Another one of those very emotional songs, just James Hetfield just talking about some very dark stuff. Of course, I think it was kind of based on true experience. Trapped Under Ice, Escape, Creeping Death, and then you have the instrumental, The Call of Cthulhu, or not Cthulhu, that one. I'm terrible at pronunciation, don't judge me. But yeah, great album. And let's go ahead and let's look on the inside. Again, not a whole lot to say. Kind of similar to the Prince one. There's not a whole lot to say. Let's take out the booklet. So here you just got a little photo of the band there. And you have there on the side, which is just the credits. See, Metallica's fight for world domination has been made easier by the following wonderful human beings. And then, like I said, it just gives you the credits. Let's see, produced by Metallica themselves. So open it up, you have the lyrics on the inside here. That's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot to say. Then on the back, you have some photos of the band. So there you go. Again, not a whole lot to say, but again, it's Metallica. I'm assuming people watching this already know what I mean by Metallica, especially early Metallica. Like the first, I guess the first three are kind of the cream. People say are the cream of the crop of Metallica. Then you have Injustice for All and the Black Album, which are also very strong. And then everything after that, it's kind of like you can just choose. You can just cherry pick from then on. But yeah, this is like my favorite of all time from Metallica. So here we go. So that's number 3 for me. This band tends to get a bad rap because the next album was a lot more commercial. There was a lot of hit singles. So a lot of people kind of see this band as this hair metal, generic hair metal band basically. But I am a huge fan of this band, and I'm going to be talking about the album that preceded that hit album. And we have Whitesnake, and this is 1984's Slide It In. So this was kind of when Whitesnake was just beginning to get some attention here in the United States because they were pretty well known in the UK. But here at this point in America at least, they didn't do a whole lot of business. But when they released this album, this is when the American market was beginning to take a little bit of notice. Again, not quite that superstar status as the next album would help them achieve, but this was still a great album. I think it's the perfect blend of that era, and then you have the more bluesy hard rock era, and this kind of has this great blend here. So yeah, I mean, what can I say about Whitesnake? I mean, David Coverdale. I mean, come on, another one of my favorite vocalists of all time. Just love his rasp, love the overall growl he has in his voice. Some people compare him to Robert Plant, and you can hear a little bit, but I think he stands out on his own. But yeah, I love this album. I mean, this album kind of is right now. This is my second favorite, but it's pretty close to being my number one. It's like depending if you ask me on a certain day. But yeah, so this is there's a 35th anniversary remaster, and so it has a US remix. So this is the US remix, but the track listing is the UK track listing because I did do research, and the UK track listing and the US track listing was very different. But this particular issue has the UK track listing. So it starts with Gambler, and I think that's a pretty good opening. I like the keyboard sound, and I'll probably double check on who's playing on this album in a sec. But produced by Martin Birch, by the way. So again, Martin Birch makes another appearance on this list. But yeah, it starts with Gambler. Then you have the title track, slow and easy, great hard rocking number. Then you have Love Ain't No Stranger, great song. Give Me More Time, Standing in the Shadow, Hungry for Love, All for Nothing, Spit It Out, Guilty of Love. 10 songs, again, all killer, no filler. Let's see who's playing on this album, because I think John Lord is on this thing. So here's a picture of the band right here. So let me just look on who's playing on this album. See if it tells you. So I know the US remix has John Sykes playing, but in the UK it was different. So here it is. So the original Slide It In album lineup was David Coverdale vocals, Mel Galley guitar and vocals, John Lord on keyboards, so I was right there. Mickey Moody guitar and vocals, Colin Hodgkinson on bass. Then you have Cozy Powell on drums. So yeah, Cozy Powell makes another appearance. Then the US remix had John Sykes, Neil Murray, and Bill Chiamo on keyboards. So yeah, again, it's weird. I'm not gonna tell you the backstory why there's different lineups on different remixes, but I just told you the lineup there. But yeah, so yeah, let's go back, let's backtrack. Let's see what the booklet has. So there it is. Here you have the lyrics. Of course, Whitesnake are great poets. That's a joke, because you know their lyrics aren't that deep. It's either about women, sex, women, love, sex. That's pretty much all you get with their lyrics. So yeah, but musically, just absolutely powerhouses. In the back, you have the woman and the snake. I think I read that when they put the snake on the model, she actually passed out because it was actually starting to go down her shirt. So yeah, that's fun. So yeah, number 2, Slide It In by Whitesnake. And like always, let's show off some honorable mentions. And for my number 1, this is my favorite album of this band, and they have appeared 3 times in this series already. So we have Iron Maiden, and here is Powerslave. Like I just said, this is my favorite Iron Maiden album, and probably one of my favorite metal albums in general. And first of all, look at that album cover. Like, you have Eddie as like an Egyptian pharaoh, just like so epic, so cool. Then you have the back, very cool. So yeah, like to me, this was kind of peak Iron Maiden if we're gonna be technical. But of course, they released a couple of good albums after this album. But this is by far my favorite. Just absolutely great songwriting. It's a lot more epic. Like, the riffs on here on the solos are just phenomenal. And of course, Bruce Dickinson, just what a powerhouse vocalist. And some great bass lines, of course. And yeah, it starts out with Aces High, which they open the shows with. Then you have 2 Minutes to Midnight. Then you have Loafer's Word, Big Aura. Hopefully I said that right. Which is I think that was no, I can't remember which one's the instrumental, but yeah, it's great. It's great still. Flash of the Blade, The Duelist, Back in the Village. The title track is one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs, and then it closes out with The Ram of the Ancient Mariner, which is a 13-minute epic based on the poem of the same name. Just a great way to close the album. So yeah, that's I mean, I could talk. I should be saying more, but I'm really having a hard time finding the right words. But let's look on the inside. there's the disc. Then you have the booklet, which as we've seen in previous episodes of this series, I mean, there's just so many good stuff in these booklets. So open it up. You have some notes. Then there's a photo of the band. Again, produced by Martin Birch, so he's appeared a lot in this series. So again, like before, you have each section dedicated to each member. So you have, of course, there's Steve Harris, and the lyrics, of course, on the other side. There's Dave Murray again. If you're not familiar with Iron Maiden, hopefully by the end of this series, you're pretty much familiar with every band member's name by this point. So yeah, I was right. So Loafer's Word is the instrumental. There's Nico McBrain on drums, you just saw. There's Bruce. Here's, of course, a live shot right there, as Iron Maiden are very well known for that. Adrian Smith. And then it just shows a bunch of photos afterward. Kind of just go through the rest of this. More live shots and other photos. There you have it. That's the end of that. So yeah, that's it. Iron Maiden, #1, Powerslave. Love it. And that's my #1 favorite album of 1984. So again, in the comments below, let me know some of your favorites, some I didn't mention, hopefully. Let me know your thoughts on the albums that I've mentioned. And of course, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We are almost to 1,000, so hopefully, if you haven't, please subscribe, help me get to that milestone. And of course, we'll keep growing as long as we can. So again, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now.